relationships. All of my needs are met. And I'm on a spiritual path. There's nothing wrong with my life, but sometimes I still feel sad inside. Why? What can I do? Well, first of all, realize that emotions are not the enemy. It's not about how can I remove this emotion or that emotion, or why do I feel that, how to get rid of this emotion. Emotions are quite literally a pattern of activity in the brain. They may feel heart-wrenching, like it's sort of at the core of who we are. But they're actually not. It's actually a pattern, a chemical and an electrical pattern in our brain. They can stick metal probes into the brain. The brain doesn't actually have any pain sensors, so they can do all of these sorts of tests and literally stick probes in the brain and make you feel happy, make you feel sad, make you cry, make you feel angry, make you sexually excited. I mean, they can sort of stimulate all of these different emotions, feelings that we have. We also know that simple chemicals do that. Anybody who comes home at night feeling sad and depressed and drowns their sorrows in a couple of shots of some alcoholic beverage or glasses of an alcoholic beverage or some drugs, they know. That's why they turn to it. The emotion I'm having isn't something I'm enjoying, therefore let me chemically alter it. New chemicals, boom, new emotions. So it's important at first to realize it's not who you are. It's a pattern in the brain and can be due to anything ranging literally from what you've eaten that day, the air you've breathed, how much you slept or didn't sleep, vitamin, mineral balances. All of these things have a massive impact on our emotions. It also can be due to what we speak about as sanskaras, past impressions. Sort of grooves in the brain. Neurologically, we speak about them as neuronal networks or patterning. Spiritually, we talk about them as sanskaras, literally, impressions, grooves. The way you flow. Like we know the river bed that flows in the valley through the mountains. Well, when the water comes, that's the bed it flows in. Because for thousands of years, the river has cut a valley through the mountains. It's an impression, a literal physical impression in the mountains. So when the river flows, when the rain comes, that's where the water goes, in that river bed. In the same way in our brains, we develop these grooves, these patterns, these habits. That's sort of how our chemistry flows. And so when you notice something like sadness, notice it. If it keeps coming back over and over again, maybe it's there to tell you something. But it's not always bad. You know, a lot of times we've got this sort of fear of, oh my God, I'm sad. You know, people cry and everybody else rushes to, dry their eyes. Oh, come here. Let me dry your eyes for you. As though somehow tears were bad. As though sadness were bad. None of it's bad. it's windows into different aspects of ourselves. And so don't try to push any of it away. But the question to ask ourselves is, what is its presence telling me? And you know, as we grow on our spiritual path, interestingly, you think it's all just about joy and bliss, and in many cases it is. But the truth is that as we break out of what I call this illusion of separation, this myth of separation, into an awareness of our oneness, you actually find that the suffering of others impacts you in a way that it didn't before. So whereas before maybe the sadness was just about, oh, you know, my best friend was mean to me today, or the guy I like ignored me, or, you know, something in my circle of friends or social life or drama happened that made me sad. But as we grow spiritually, sometimes that which brings sadness is a tree that's been cut down that you walk by. Or even that you don't walk by, but that you feel in your heart. I know a lot of people, really deeply spiritually awake people, who shed a lot of tears about the fires in the Amazon, the fires in Australia. I mean, we're connected. And so sadness in and of itself is not bad. Nothing is bad. The spiritual path is a path of stopping that judgment, stopping that sense of good badness, and just allowing what isness. But here's what's really beautiful about the emotions. If I don't hook my drama into them, they dissipate very quickly. So there may be a moment of sadness. And I may know what caused it, I may not know what caused it. A very sad person may have walked by me and I energetically picked it up. We're energetic beings. And I may have just been sort of energetically overcome by the despair of the person who walked by me. Surprise, it's not all always about us. It's not always about my drama. Sometimes it may actually be about my connection to someone else. But if I don't hook a drama into it, it dissipates very, very quickly, because then I walk by a flower that has opened its petals to the sun and that is just filled with such joy that suddenly I am feeling the joy of the flower. And then suddenly there's a child. And the child is just exuberant in bliss. And now I'm experiencing also the bliss of the child. And then maybe something within me wells up. And this is what it's like to be an energetic being in a world of energy. The problem comes when I hook my drama into it. When it's, oh, I'm sad, my life, why does nothing go right for me? When I give it a story. And then I get attached to the story, and I get attached to the drama, and I convince myself that I am the story. And so there's sadness. And instead of just being able to sit with that, and even if there are tears, okay. Don't always know why there are tears. Sometimes there just are. Sometimes it rains when it's not the rainy season. It's nature. It just sometimes happens. And that's okay. But when our thinking mind tries to give it a story, oh, I must be crying because. Oh, I must be sad because. this person, that person, this situation. So if you find that in general, you're actually really living a deeply spiritual life, but you just sometimes have waves of emotions that come, that's okay. You know, when waves in the ocean come, those who know how to swim, what do? They dive in, right? When you're in the ocean and a wave is coming, only young kids or those who haven't swum before try to outrun the wave. They're the ones you see who turn around and go, ah, and they run back to the shore, and of course the wave beats them there, knocks them over, and they come up sputtering for breath. But anyone who has swum, who knows how to swim, doesn't try to outrun a wave. A wave comes and they turn around, they face it, they dive in. The wave goes one way, they come out on the other side. So as these waves come, just drop deep. It's on the surface. It's energetic. A wind blows. It impacts us not just on the hairs on our skin, but in our hearts, in our brains, in our collective consciousness. Let it happen and dive deep. And the more anchored you stay deeply, the less impacted you are by the constant fluctuation of the waves, by every single person you pass on the road or stand next to in the subway or who talks to you, or every, Facebook post someone sends you or thing that you see online. Otherwise, it's a constant kind of up and downness. Anchor deep. But if you find that the sadness is deep, if you feel like I have everything, but I still have this deep sadness, that's when you need to ask yourself, okay, what is it I really have and what is it I don't have? And have I tried to fill myself with external appeasements? Have I tried to buy my own happiness, buy my own peace, buy my own sense of fulfillment with possessions or titles or careers or relationships or luxury? Because we all know that doesn't work. And so sometimes if that sadness is deep in the face of having it all, then that sadness is really the truth of you kind of pulling on you. Like a kid standing there pulling on the mom's skirt, like trying to get her attention. Mom, mom. Sometimes that sadness is that truth pulling on you. Hey, listen to me. This isn't what it's about. Hey, all the possessions, all the money, all the prestige, all the glory, I'm not full. I'm not full from that. Give me some real love, some real connection, some real truth, some real awareness. And this is where it's so important to really anchor yourself in awareness. Because that's what actually gives you the truth. My favorite story about this is that psychological study that they did, that I share it actually quite frequently, but it bears sharing frequently, of the basketball game where the scientists, the researchers, had their subjects who are smart students, college students, grad school students, watch a basketball game, 6-minute basketball game. Red team, white team. And they told them that the task was count how many baskets each team makes. So at the end of the experiment, they give them each a piece of paper and it says, how many baskets did the white team make? So they all get it right. It was only a 6-minute game. Basketball is an easy sport to follow and watch. How many baskets did the red team make? Again, they all get it right. And then the third question, did you notice anything else? Now, more than 50% of the students said no. And it turns out, as in almost all of the psych experiments, what they said it was about is not what it's about. It's never what they say it's about. There's always something else it's about that they don't tell you. And really what this experiment was about had nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with awareness and attention. And it turns out that halfway through the basketball game, in the middle of the court, this huge gorilla came onto the court and proceeded to dance center court right in front of the camera for about 30 seconds and then exited the court. Now, 50% of the students, more than that, missed it. And, you know, it's not that they fell asleep or they sneezed or they stopped paying attention, because they actually got all of the baskets right. So it's not an issue of attention. And what they realized is something very, very simple. It all has to do with the instructions. It's not what they were told to look for. They were told, count the baskets. So they did. And they did it fantastically, perfectly. If at the beginning the researchers say, oh, and by the way, don't miss the gorilla, nobody misses it. Or even if they say, oh, and by the way, this isn't really what it's about, but some surprise is going to happen, pay attention, they don't miss it. And this is the most potent and poignant, for me, metaphor for our lives. As we're raised, we're given these instructions. Get a good education, get a good degree, get a good job, make a bunch of money, get married, have kids, build a white picket fence around your house, get a good job, send the kids to good school. Like these are your instructions. Make sure the neighbors respect you. Make sure that, you're popular and everybody looks at you with great esteem. This is what matters. And so we do that. We follow instructions very well. And at some point in our lives, tragically not usually till the end of it or till something happens, at some point, we wonder, was that it? Was there not anything else? Did I miss something? And just like in the study, it's the same thing in life. That's not what it's about. Now, the difference is in our lives, people aren't purposely trying to trick us. They're not conducting an experiment. And it doesn't last only 6 minutes, it lasts our whole lives. Which means that the impact is much more detrimental. Missing a gorilla is not the end of the world. Missing the point of your life is. And so this is where sometimes that little inner something that kind of keeps nagging at you is that sense of, this isn't what it's all about. This isn't what it's all about. Keep your eyes open. Don't miss it. It doesn't mean don't do those things. Do those things. Keep doing them. No problem. But realize that's not what it's about and keep your eyes open. Not just your physical eyes. Because what it is about isn't necessarily going to come in the form of a dancing gorilla. You've got to keep the inner eyes open. And the inner ears open. and the inner intelligence open to actually experience what it's about, which is experiencing the truth of who you are, experiencing that self, that boundless, infinite love, truth, stillness and energy, that exquisite seeming irony, but not really an irony when you experience it, of complete stillness and divine energy at the same time. That is the universe. That is the experience of that Om of the universe. And so we stay connected to find it. So if you've got that sadness that's nagging at you, and it keeps nagging and keeps nagging, it might be worth spending some time to look at it and to see what it's trying to tell you. Might be the trees, might be the rivers, might be the connection with the people in the world, but it may also be that you're missing something. So allow yourself to look at it and see it.